We have two people in our readings tonight that I want to focus on that we've read about already. One wants to kill Jesus. The other wants to defend Jesus. But they both need healing from Jesus. These two are Malchus and Peter. Who is Malchus, anyway? He's a blip. You can easily miss him, getting only a verse and a half in each gospel, and his name is only mentioned in the Gospel of John. One Bible dictionary put it this way: the New Testament does not provide details about the specific duties of high priest Caiaphas' servant. However, a servant would have been responsible for assisting in religious ceremonies, maintaining the high priest's personal needs, and acting as a guard during significant events. And that's what Malchus was doing this evening. Malchus doesn't get a lot of airtime, but what we do read is fast, it's intense, and it's bloody. Just outside the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas led soldiers who were armed to the teeth. They surrounded the disciples and asked for Jesus. Jesus gave up his identity immediately and said, "Let these others go. You found me." Jesus doesn't hold on to his own safety. And here's where our two characters tonight cross paths. Peter draws his sword, and Malchus's ear is now on the ground. And Jesus picks it up and heals his ear. The only blood that Jesus had on his hands is the blood from healing. In the middle of agony, Jesus has compassion, and he's guilty of absolutely no crime. This is Jesus. This is Jesus' last miracle before his resurrection, healing his enemies, the enemies that came to heal him. After being healed, the question becomes clear: did Malchus continue to help the soldiers of the high priest kill Jesus? Maybe Malchus was in disbelief. He had to shelve his emotions in order to continue carrying out the plan that evening. I wonder if he turned in his resignation papers the next morning and he moved to the country to farm olives. He heard of Jesus' miracles, but I don't think in a million years he ever expected to need one himself. We don't know if Malchus changed his mind about Jesus. This is all we know. Even tonight, though, his healing is a witness to Jesus' deity and his compassion. Jesus restored Malchus's ear, and then he turns his attention to Peter. "Put your sword back in its holder. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" Peter made a quick decision with that sword. I believe that Peter's hastiness, though, often gets misinterpreted. We often paint Peter as a coward. He couldn't even stand up to a little servant girl when she asked if he knew Jesus. I know I've said that many times, and I've attributed Peter's motive to fear for self. But the next slide that we have is the sword that Peter probably would have carried. It's a machaira or a sikka, and it's used for getting around shields, and likely Peter's look like this. With the curvature, you can tell it's good at getting a slashing shot at someone's neck. I don't think Peter was after Malchus's ear. I think he was after his neck, fully ready to decapitate Malchus. Malchus ducked. He's a good soldier. And Peter got his ear. An ear wouldn't do any good for Peter's purposes that night. If Peter was afraid for his own life, he wouldn't have tried to kill the high priest's servant. It would have been a capital offense that led him straight to immediate and brutal execution. We do know from Scripture that Peter was never keen on a suffering Messiah. He was operating out of that belief tonight. 3 times Jesus tells his disciples he is going to suffer and die. The first time in Mark 8, Peter loses his mind. Peter just confessed that Jesus was the Messiah. To him, this meant that Jesus was the fulfillment of a long time promise by God to deliver his people. Delivering people seemed like an acceptable practice for a Messiah, quite tidy even. Death, however, and suffering were not on the menu for a successful Messiah. Peter cannot handle it when Jesus says he must suffer and die. Peter rebukes Jesus. It's a risky move. And Jesus, in turn, rebukes Peter. Get behind me, Satan. Peter's inability to accept a suffering Messiah is akin to the work of Satan. Peter's motivation was about a successful Messiah, not a suffering one. Do you see it? Both Malchus and Peter need healing. Malchus needs his ear healed because a zealous, religious person is convinced he's doing God a favor. Peter needs his heart healed. Jesus had to unburden Peter of thinking that he had to be a good soldier in order to bring about the kingdom. Following me, my dear Peter, means suffering and death. We can't blame Peter, can we? It's hard to let Jesus go, and with him our dreams for a successful Messiah. Even tonight we might be wondering, why this way? Why the agony? Why the nails? Why the abandonment? Why the whips, the thorns, and the nakedness? We understand why Jesus would say, my God, why have you forsaken me? But it's important for us to be here tonight remembering the Lord's death. Sometimes it's confusing to know how to belong to Jesus amidst the suffering. But friends, total understanding is not a requirement. Even in our confusion, he loves us. Just look at Peter. Just look at Malchus. We all need healing. It might be our first encounter with Jesus, or we may have been walking with him for a very long time. It might be our ear. It might be letting go of our agenda for how Jesus' kingdom comes about. But we all need Jesus to heal us. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, be healed.